Hey everybody, Tom Thalen here. Today I want to give you some quick coping strategies for stress and anxiety in the home. You know, if you're feeling anxious today, you're not alone. You might be like any person who actually ends up transferring stress around in your home. When I show a red arrow here, I'm just sort of saying a negative transfer of stress. Here we have the parent level, here we have kind of the kid level. Back and forth it goes because we're not managing it. This was actually something that was discovered by Dr. Murray Bowen from Georgetown University in the 70s and 80s. He studied stress in the home, and what he found was that undealt with stress got projected, and usually in a negative way. And he wasn't just talking about it and dealing with it, it was actually pushing it out or puking it up on others. And if it wasn't dealt with here at the parent level, some of this stress and anxiety would go out in a negative way. So these are things like addictions and escapism, just falling into negative, destructive behaviors. And another thing he observed is that if these arrows weren't dealt with, what would often happen is on the parent level, the stress and anxiety would end up being projected unwittingly on some child, what he would often call the focus child. Now what that means is, here's a kid who already has enough stress and anxiety of his or her own, and yet somehow they're bearing the brunt of their parents' stress and anxiety. We have to be so careful not to do this. Now, of course, this would be abuse and neglect and all of these traumatic events that hurt kids, but there are also more subtle things. When I raise my voice at our oldest daughter, or one of our 4 kids, it's not always the major, huge traumatic events. It's the cumulative small events that happen over time. It's kind of like the concussion issue in the NFL. It wasn't just the 3 big hits. It was cumulative over the course of an athlete's career. So how do we deal with this stress and anxiety and not create a focused child situation where this kid is bearing the brunt of the family's stress and anxiety? Quick tips right here. These are what we're doing at my house. My wife and I are really focusing with our kids on what we can control and what we can't control. So I can control, of course, my actions. And I think about just doing actions that are keeping me alive and keeping me motivated during this time. You know, first off, following all of the guidelines for our health right now is super important. But also just to get moving, get my body up off the couch. Every day we've been going for a walk around our neighborhood, and it makes us come back alive. What else can I control? I can control my input. So what am I putting into my brain and into my head and heart? And these things are all influencing me. If I'm only focused on the negative news, it's going to start to weigh me down. Now the news is important, we want to be informed, but we don't want to be dragged down and we don't want to stay there. So instead, I want to take some of that time where I was just sucking things down, and I want to actually create some positive output. We did a night where our kids all created a game. They created like a board games. Our daughter Lucy, who's 9 years old, created a game that she called Do Your Thing. And it was kind of a racetrack thing. You go around the board, but each time you roll, you had to sing this song, hum a song, and the rest of the family had to guess it. It was so cool. We really ended up enjoying that game and played it for about an hour just a couple nights ago. And so we're looking for output that can be things that are creative, that make us come alive, playing music, playing a sport if you can get outside, just being active in our families and doing things that really exercise our creativity. And the last one is, if I can do these 3, I can also adjust my attitude. Your attitude is one of the only things you can control in life. And so as you go through these positive actions, you say, I can control these, and I have to focus on what I can do, not what I can't do. And I'm not going to write out 4 for these, I'm just going to write out 2. I can't control others. That's such a big deal. If I am focused in on fixing other people and changing them, making them do something different, it's just negative energy that I cannot really have much influence over. And so I have to say, I can't control others, and another thing I can't is I can't control the future. But if I look back at what I can control, I realize that all of these things together become a positive influence to the people in my life, the others in my life who need me to be a strong, positive parent and spouse, and someone who wakes up and says, I can control my attitude. I can reset and start over each day. I really want to encourage you to use this time at home with your families as a gift. As long as you're staying safe and healthy and you're at home, take advantage of that time. Take advantage of it relationally and even just socially and emotionally in your home so that you can cope with the stress that comes. You're not a weirdo for being stressed out. You're normal. So let's try to handle it in a positive way. Together we can do this.